Hey, Joe Gilder here from Home Studio Corner. Presonus StudioLive Series 3. How do you hook up headphones to it? Well, if you saw my last video about the speakers, there's a simple way, and then you can get as complicated as you want to get. But I'll show you both so you can kind of at least hit the ground running if you've got one or you're thinking about getting one. The simplest solution is on the front of the mixer. So I've had people ask me this before, hey, where's the headphone jack? I can't find it. It's actually right here. For some reason, it's on the bottom front of the mixer. And that's fine unless you've got a desk like mine where if it's pulled in like this, you actually can't get to the headphone out. It kind of stinks. Now, the way you control what's feeding that headphone output and control the volume of it is, again, over here in the monitor section. We call it monitors because we are monitoring what things sound like. And we have a separate monitor output that feeds our speakers. We talked about that already. But we can also select what's going to feed our headphones. If we hit this edit button and you look up in the top corner, if you select phones for headphones, we can now say, all right, what is going to feed my headphones? A lot of times I have it set to do the same thing as my speakers. But if you wanted, you could have it set to any of these other mixes. If you wanted to do a headphone mix that was separate from the main mix that you're hearing out of your speakers, you could do that by just selecting which of these mixes, and you can set up the different mixes down here on the left-hand side of the board, which of these mixes is feeding the headphone output. So it's got a lot of versatility, even though it's just one headphone output with a volume knob for your speakers and your headphones, but they can each be fed by something different. That's kind of cool. Now, if you want to get more fancy and you need more headphone connections, or you need to be able to choose different sources and have a few options there, then you're going to want some sort of external box as a headphone amp. Remember, you can't plug headphones directly into the back of the mixer. It doesn't work that way. You need a headphone amp in between for two reasons. One, the output of those mixers doesn't have enough really juice to really feed your headphones. And secondly, they're not stereo connections. They're single mono balance connections. You need to feed those into some sort of a headphone amp. Let me show you one. Like this one from Presonus or something similar. It's got a pair of inputs on the back for left and right. That can be fed by any of the outputs on the mixer. So I can set up a headphone mix on a different set of faders. Then I can set the levels for the singer, just how she wants it to be. And I can feed that using a couple of balanced 1/4-inch cables into this box. This box can be over there by the music stand, and then she can control the volume of her headphones plugged into that box. So I have control here, and she has overall volume control over there. Now, another way to do that is to have some sort of dedicated monitor controller / headphone switching system. Something like, again, I mentioned in the last video, the Presonus Central Station, or if you get something like the Presonus Monitor Station, I believe it has 4 headphone jacks on it. It behaves essentially like a monitor controller that lets you switch between speakers and switch between sources, but you can also switch between sources for the headphones themselves. So they can listen to whatever's coming out of the speakers can be coming out of the headphones, or you can switch them. On the Central Station, I can say one headphone output is listening to one source, another headphone output is listening to another source, and that other source is fed from an auxiliary mix off of the board. So I can have a different mix going out the second headphone to the bass player, another mix coming out the first headphone to me, which is just my board mix, and then a third mix going out to this headphone preamp for the drummer so he can have his own mix. That's not uncommon for me to do, and because you've got all those auxiliary outputs on the back of the mixer, you can do that pretty well. Just remember, you need a stereo mix, that's a left and a right, feeding some sort of headphone amp that will then feed that left and right into the headphones. And that's really it. Now, I know I've covered a lot here. If you have questions, leave a comment below, but those are the ways that you can incorporate headphones into your system. Typically, if you're just a one-man show and you just need one headphone output, use the jack on the front of the mixer. If you're wanting multiple outputs, you're going to need a couple other pieces of equipment to make that work. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.